Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. So we're celebrating this new series around the reset mindset in celebration of the launch of my new book that's coming out in September 2024, and it's called The Reset Mindset. And so the book is centered around what is a reset mindset? Well, it talks about how important for this day and age it is to be able to be more agile, to dynamically reassess as we get new information, as the environment changes, and it's going to shift the way that we work, the way that we lead, and the way that we live. And so we're going to be talking to different leaders, authors, and thought leaders who are going to be here talking about how we can be more dynamic in our thinking, in our behavior, in our innovation. And that's going to be part of the series. So thank you for being here, and make sure that you're catching all of these because we're going to have some fantastic guests with some really unique perspectives. Today, I'm super excited to have Stephen M.R. Covey on the show. Maybe he needs no introduction. I'm not sure many people know his father from Seven Habits, but Stephen M.R. Covey, he is a New York Times and Wall Street Journal #1 best-selling author of The Speed of Trust and Trust and Inspire. He's the former CEO of Covey Leadership, which under his stewardship became the largest leadership development company in the world. Stephen personally led the strategy that propelled his father's books, Dr. Stephen R. Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, to become one of the 2 most influential business books in the 20th century, according to CEO magazine. And I can tell you that I've been following him for years. He's an incredible leader and brings some incredibly important perspectives on the speed of trust, how we develop trust, but also what needs to change in our leadership, a paradigm shift in the way that we approach trust in the organization through our leadership. So without further ado, welcome Stephen M.R. Covey. So Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hi, Penny. So great to be with you. Excited for this.
Yeah, me too. We were recently on a panel together, and
Yep.
I was saying I would love to just sort of riff a bit about some topics since that was more structured. So I'm excited to have you here so we can do that. We can just riff a little bit.
I know we had so much fun on the panel. We said we got to get together and go deeper on kind of some of these ideas and be able to have our conversation. So this is it.
Yeah, this is it. And I've been following your work for a while. I really loved Speed of Trust and how it is just so vital and so true. Because when I talk about productivity, people often think of the more measurable type of things, but I love that you just put it very clear that trust is our fastest way to productivity through these relationships. So
Absolutely. I like to say, nothing is as fast as the speed of trust. Now, it might take you a little time to create it, but once you create it, you move exceptionally fast. When you talk about a time saver and productivity, you build trust. Speed happens when people trust each other.
it's huge. That's amazing. What I guess I want to start with is so you wrote The Speed of Trust in 2008. And then more recently, you wrote Trust and Inspire. So there's been a time gap in between there. And then, of course, you have the future onto the horizon. What has changed for you? Or I don't even know how to ask that question, but let's say it like that. What has changed for you between when you first wrote the book to the last book and where you see the future headed?
Yeah, really interesting, Penny, because when I first came out with The Speed of Trust, I had to spend a lot of time making the case for why trust mattered and kind of the business case for trust and the leadership case for trust. Today, I don't have to make the case very much.
Right.
People get it. It's everywhere. We've got low trust all around us. And there's a high cost of low trust and people see it and we're stuck. And So the need to make the case is not as great as it was before because it's all around us. We're immersed in a low trust culture that
Mm,
tends to perpetuate itself. So that's one thing. A second thing is initially I kind of focused on how if you could increase trust, it would help you do all the other things that you're trying to do better, like to collaborate better, to innovate better, to engage people, to lead change, to retain people. And that's all remains true. So that hasn't changed. What's changed, though, is that now people are saying we need trust for just trust alone. We need a high trust team, a high trust culture. Don't even worry that we got to do it to accomplish the collaboration that we want or the innovation we want. That still remains. But now there's a focus on our culture. We got to focus on culture and we need trust in our culture. So trust is the job to be done, not just one of the enablers of another job to be done, where if you have trust, you can do collaboration or innovation or engagement better.
right.
Yes.
Right.
And
It's
you know
the
what?
dominant.
We
It's the
need
first domino.
trust. This is
Right.
the job. We
It's
need
the
the high
first
trust
domino,
culture.
right?
Yep.
It's like
The first
once you get
domino.
that, then the rest of them are possible and will fall.
Yep. And people are just flat out saying it. We need a high trust culture. And we don't have one.
Yeah, and they're saying it because people are so skeptical today. Why do you think, when, like you said, the case is made because people are just so skeptical and it's so obvious, right? It's amplified the
Yeah.
problem. So
Amplified
why
the
do you
problem.
think that is?
It's because we're operating in a low trust world and distrust is contagious. It
Mm,
spreads. And we all become a little bit more careful and cautious and guarded when there's low trust around us.
right.
People respond back more careful, more cautious, more guarded. And we
Mm,
can find ourselves perpetuating kind of this vicious downward cycle of distrust and suspicion,
mm.
creating more distrust and suspicion, and everybody feeling justified in the process. Distrust is contagious. And we've got to counteract it. And so it seeps into our organizations. When people start to say, who can you trust? And when you lose trust in institutions, you start to say, can I even trust my leadership? You just start to become cynical,
Yeah,
skeptical about everything because none of us want to get burned. It's understandable. And so, but when you're in a vicious downward cycle, it's a little bit like the reset. We got to reset our thinking. We got to intentionally say, we got to counteract this and
mhm.
not just allow this drift to happen of distrust leading to more distrust, but to say, no, we got to counteract it. We got to reset, a purposeful pause, and say, we got to intentionally create trust and lead with trust, especially in a low trust world, because this is not going to take us to where we need to be to collaborate, to innovate, to work our way out of our problems. We have to do that with a new way of thinking, and we can't get there without trust. So I think that we got to counteract the low trust around us. But that's why I think this is on everyone's minds, is because we're immersed in a low trust world, and we're like fish who discover water last. We're just so immersed in it, we're sometimes not even aware that the issue is trust.
Right.
Lack of
So
trust.
you mentioned the reset, right? I
Yeah.
mean, of course, it's because I gave you a copy of my book, The Reset Mindset. So I'm maybe reinforcing that language, but
And I love it.
thank you. So coming upon that, so what is it that we need to reset in our thinking about our leadership, right? That shifts the way that we show up as leaders so that we are intentionally fostering these trusting cultures.
Yeah. We really need to reset our leadership mindset, our thinking, to move out of the traditional, what I call command and control, to a mindset of trust and inspire, in contrast to
Right.
command and control. Now, look, we've made a lot of movement within this realm. But what I found is really we've kind of moved from authoritarian command and control to an enlightened command and control. So it's a better version of it.
Oh, that's funny.
It's,
Okay.
it's a better
We
version
think
of it.
we've changed, but we
We
haven't
think we've
changed.
But the change is just incremental. It's different in degree, but not different in kind.
Right. Maybe sidestepping, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm not here, but I'm just taking a step to the side because it's not really forward, is it?
Yeah, but it's improved, it's better, but still,
Okay.
it's a command and control mindset. So I call it enlightened command and control, a more
Okay.
advanced, more sophisticated version of it, better, kinder with people and the like. But we really need to have the reset into a whole new way of leading. I call it trust and inspire. in
Mm.
contrast to command and control. I'll just give you a couple of the resets that need to happen.
Please.
Command and control, I manage things, people, and things. Trust and inspire, I manage things, but I lead people. So we need good management of
Love that.
things, systems,
Yeah.
structures, strategies, the numbers, the business. We manage things, but we lead people. But sometimes we've gotten so good at management of things, we start to manage people as if they
Mhm.
were things. And people don't want to be managed. People want to be led.
Yeah.
They want to be trusted. They want to be inspired. Command and control, the focus is efficiency, which is a good thing with things, but it's transactional in nature. Trust and inspire, the focus is on effectiveness, which can be transformational to relationships, to teams, to cultures. Be efficient with things, be effective with people. Trust and inspire, the focus is on motivation, which is, command and control. The focus is on motivation,
Right.
which is external, extrinsic, tends to
Right.
be heavy carrot and stick motivation, rewards focus. Nothing wrong with that. It's just incomplete. We have to have it as a base. Trust and inspire, by contrast, the focus is on inspiration.
Mm.
It's internal, it's intrinsic, it's inside of people. You light the fire within. That fire, once lit, can burn on for months, if not years, without the need for constant external stimuli, more carrots, more sticks. And so inspiration can take you to a whole different place than motivation ever can. So these are the kind of resets and paradigm shifts of rethinking of how we're leading. And we're very much immersed still with all our progress in a command and control world. The research shows about 90% of organizations are still operating in some form of command and control as their primary leadership style. And we've got to shift to one of trust and inspire, where we see the potential, the greatness, the talent inside of people, and see our job is not to try to contain and control people, but to unleash them and to grow them as a means of how we're going to get the results. Do it in a way that grows people. We got to shift our leadership style.
So with that being said, like some of the research that I've done and the people that I've interviewed and spoken with, it seems like the pandemic amplified this command and control because people going to work from home gave people less control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're also sort of forcing this, let's all come back to the office full time, because I think they want to stay in that command and control. Because I get it, when we feel like we're out of control, we're all control freaks. I mean, if we really think about it, right, we feel stress and overwhelm when we feel out of control. So we look for things to try to control. So it's kind of like we're fighting against this part of ourselves, right? The leaders who want to feel in control. How do you explain to people that actually you'd have more control, right? You get more results from the inspire piece.
Yeah.
Than actually, right? Because you're not getting commitment from people, you're getting compliance, right? It's a transaction versus
It is
ownership.
beautiful. You express it beautifully. Yeah. You're getting compliance, not commitment. You're getting status quo, not innovation, change. People will do what they're told, but not their heartfelt commitment and creativity and innovation and passion. And here's the irony to this, Penny. There's actually more control in a trust and inspire culture than there is in any command and control culture, because you can't come up with enough rules and regulations and policies and procedures for people who you can't and don't trust. There's just not enough.
Right.
And whereas
that's
you build
true,
a high
right?
trust,
And then everybody else suffers as a result. When you put all those rules in place, you're crushing everybody's spirit.
Absolutely. We're penalizing the 98% we can trust because of the 2% that we can't. And we penalize the many because of the few. And so that's the great irony of this, is that there's actually greater control in a high trust culture, plus greater results, because the reasons you mentioned, people are more committed. When they're involved, they're more committed. When you build the agreement together with someone, they're more committed and they achieve it better. They're more creative. They're more innovative in doing so. So you get better results. But I would argue also, you haven't lost control. You just shift the control from you kind of having to hover over or micromanage to one where you build the agreement and the controls in the agreement with expectations, with accountability. And the person governs themselves against that agreement, reporting back to you. So they're accountable against the expectations you build together. And they feel empowered. you don't have to micromanage. You gain more time and they perform better. They're happier and you still have control. You're just shifting it from you being the one that tries to control to the agreement governing. And when agreements govern and the agreements are built right with the person, not dictated to the person, then there's greater control in that very agreement itself. So it's really a beautiful synergistic process that sounds so simple. It's just we're trapped in a command and control world in our language, our systems, and our structures. It's just all around it, all around us.
So that just brings me, when you say language, I'm curious because I like to play with language. Like I said, the difference between accountability and ownership, like I play with these perspectives because even though there's a slight change in words, it changes everything, right? It changes our attitudes, our expectations, and our priorities. So I'm interested in what language shifts for you. Like, how could people just use language to make part of that shift?
Yeah. Think of some of the common language of my span of control. The very word span of control. The number of people reporting to me, well, that's a military term. It comes from the command and control language, and reset it, rethink it in terms of how about my span of care? Those that I have a stewardship for, and to demonstrate the care and the concern for. I learned that from Bob Chapman, span of care, instead of span of control. Instead of doing something to someone or even for someone, that's transactional, because I do this for you, and then you for me. Let's do this with each other. It's a with. We're moving from for to with. It shifts everything. Now we're working together. We're collaborating. We're partnering. We're working on inspiration, not motivation. From words of employees instead of associates, coworkers, vendors, suppliers, partners.
I've heard a lot of companies be shifting that language. Disney also has a really good one. It's guests, right?
Yes. Even a higher level than customer. It's guest.
Right.
No, an associate, colleague, coworker, our employees. It just communicates a lot in the very language itself. And so much of our language really does come from a command and control mindset, the rank and file. And heaven forbid, we don't use these words anymore. We used to say subordinates.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Luckily, we don't anymore, but it's just so deeply scripted.
Yeah.
And in our systems and structures, but I even think things like high potentials. What is that communicating to everybody else that's not on that list?
Yeah.
Do we not see the greatness in them? And how do I feel if I'm not on the high potential list and you're my leader? From boss to coach, these language shifts. And it needs to be both the language, but also the paradigm. I think another one is that leadership is stewardship. It's not about rights. It's about responsibilities. That's what a stewardship is, an essential responsibility. A stewardship is a job with a trust. And as leaders, we are stewards. And leaders, we're not mechanics, go around fixing people and things. We're gardeners, creating conditions.
That's a great analogy,
for the seeds to grow. And just like the life and the power is in the seed, the life and the power is in the people. As leaders, we're gardeners creating conditions for the people to grow. And so, yes, we're trying to get results. Both command and control and trust and inspire try to get results. Command and control does it through people, but they use people as a means to an end. Trust and inspire says we get results in a way that grows people. We have two ends, the results, but also the growth of people. Then our ability to grow in the future has just gone up. And our people are happier, greater energy, joy, well-being, and greater productivity, which is the great irony in all of this.
Right.
So that's the idea. But language, systems, structures, we're just in a command and control world. It's like our native tongue. And this trust and inspire is like an acquired tongue. We got to learn it. We got to get better at it. We got to find models and mentors of it and then become one ourselves.
To put it into my language we have to find these reset moments, right? So that we can look for opportunities. Those opportunities to reset that language would be like those reset moments, is to notice when we're in command and control, take that as a reset moment to shift the language, to embed more inspiration into the process and to look at those systems, the process and the language and use that.
Absolutely. The reset moments, there's so many opportunities for reset moments in our leadership as we reset any interaction. We could literally approach this of even an interruption. I learned this from Meta Norgard and Doug Conant in their book, Touch Points, where the reset idea is that we get all these interruptions. And their whole point is those interruptions is where leadership is learned and experienced. The action is in the interaction. So rather than in an interruption from people, it's a chance to connect and to teach and to learn and to grow and to coach. And a whole shift in how I'm viewing all the demands on my time when people come up and talk to me, interrupt me. That's not an interruption. It's a chance for growth.
That's a nice reframe. I like that. That's a good
beautiful
reframe. Because how you approach it, right, with that sense of mindset is how you're going to interact with them. Are you going to snap at them and be like, make them feel like they're an annoyance, or are they going to feel welcomed? Even if you don't fix, I'll say in quotes, right? You may just ask them a question, but you ask it in a completely different interactive way than you would if you were interrupted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a couple of the reset moments, I also saw this in your book, the idea of failure is feedback. I've said a similar thing. I've said failure is growth. You fell fast, fell forward, fell often, but learn faster, because it's all about learning. Learning is more important than knowledge. And as Einstein said, imagination is more important than memory. So we've got to learn and grow and reframe, reshift, reset ourselves in these things. Another one you highlight that I do as well, assume positive intent.
So important.
Such a big one, because it's very easy to go down the path of starting to cast motives on people. And often from our frame of reference, and in worst case, from worst case scenarios, and when you reset and say, I'm going to assume positive intent, instantly things change. And so I think another key one I've been highlighting.
Yeah, I've had some great personal experience where I've seen that happen, and it stops that spiral that you were talking about earlier.
Oh, it can be profound. Indra Nooyi, the former CEO of PepsiCo, she said, she was asked, what is the single greatest learning of your life? And she said, always assume positive intent. Whatever anybody says or does, assume positive intent, because you'll be amazed how that will change everything. Because it's a purposeful pause. It's a reset, the very thing you talk about. And it makes such a difference. And so we need that kind of resetting in our leadership, including how we see people, that they're whole people, body, heart, mind, spirit, that brings their whole self to work, not just economic beings only that just want to get paid. They do want to be paid because they have a body.
Right.
But they also have a heart. They want to connect and care and love. They have a mind. They want to grow and develop. They have a spirit. They want to contribute, make a difference, matter, do meaningful, purposeful work. So see them as whole people, not just people that want to be paid, not just an employee that wants to be paid. See them as having greatness in them and potential. And even if it's lying dormant or not seen, and that our job as a leader is to see that potential and then communicate it to them so that they come to see it in themselves and to develop and to unleash it, versus I got to control or contain people. Just a whole series of resets that need to happen in our leadership. That's what my Trust and Inspire book is trying to do. But you've given me some good language with the reset idea of the kind of these shifts that need to happen. And there's big ones, the big paradigm shifts, but there's a lot of these small ones that you talk about that happen all the time and need to happen all the time as we're leading. How are we showing up to our people generically overall? But how about go one by one? How do I show up to this person who I'm leading?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love listening to you talk. I'd like to, and I think people would be interested to hear maybe a story from your own experience. When was a time where you had to reset your leadership style or have a leadership reset for yourself that you can recall that would be pivotal and interesting for people to learn something from?
Yeah. When I was the CEO of Covey Leadership Center, we had one of our divisions that I had a paradigm, a mindset about them that they were important to us. They're part of our mission, but they really weren't adding a lot of economic value.
Okay.
So I saw it as, hey, we got to do this. It's part of, not just any company, we're a company with a mission, but they're not going to add a lot of margin. And And I kind of labeled them that way and found the evidence to kind of prove it. But when we did some activity-based costing and really tried to assign what things were costing and everything else, I realized these folks were being extraordinarily productive, doing far more with less. And when we came out of the activity-based costing, I realized they're actually quite profitable too. And they're producing a lot. And I had now data that showed it. And obviously the data helped shift my paradigm. But suddenly I just found once my paradigm shifted, 1,000 different ways how I viewed them differently, saw them differently. But I I had to go back and actually apologize for how I'd kind of labeled them and perpetuated that label out. And then I became their greatest advocate and champion because I wanted to undo how I'd wrongly labeled them and showed how they were not only vital to our mission, they were vital to our margin. And we needed both. And they were indispensable. And I had to be humble and kind of take it that I was wrong. And I had to make this shift around them. So that was with a division. I had hard data. Sometimes we have to do it with a person.
Yeah.
Or we got to see them differently.
That's incredible. I had a similar experience where somebody came and apologized to me as an individual for a label or a wrong looking at work. And I think I could only imagine from my experience, the way that that group probably respond when you talk about speed to trust.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable and simply saying, I got this wrong. And here's how, whether it's how I'm going to make it up to you, or here's how I see things now, or whatever, that must have just completely had them so fired up about working with you and what they were creating, because now they had that, I don't know, it creates such a different connection. I remember when this person apologized to me, I felt like we never had any issues. There were no more rules that had to be in place because we knew, and I would just be able to assume positive intent and that he had my back because of that one vulnerable moment, right? Even if other things didn't work out well, it was because of that one moment that his integrity went off the charts, that I knew that he was good people and I could trust him.
Beautiful. I love it. I agree completely. Just especially when we're authentic, that's the integrity, and vulnerable. That requires humility. Is a blending of both humility and courage, that you're going to be humble enough to say, I was wrong, be courageous enough to say, I was wrong. I want to right the wrong and make it up. I want to make it right when I'm wrong and make this up and try to find ways to behave my way back into trust. But suddenly people are far more open in letting you do that.
Oh,
and if it's inauthentic, if it doesn't happen, you're not real about it, don't take ownership, to your point earlier.
Right.
And, really own it, then it may not work. And it actually could backfire if it's not sincere. But when it's authentic, real, grounded in humility, and you're vulnerable and humble, I find the same thing you have found, that suddenly people, they want to help and they want to be part of the process. You've involved them and they see it as real. And then here's the key thing. I always say, in terms of restoring trust, reestablishing it, that I learned this from my father. You can't talk your way out of a problem that you behaved your way into.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And so if we've lost people's trust or behavior, words alone will help, but they won't get it back. We got to behave our way back into trust, just like you behaved your way out of it. So we do the apology, and then we say, I'm going to rethink this, and I'm going to go forward and do things differently because of this. And I'm going to, in this case, I said, I'm going to become your greatest advocate and champion to I want to undo, and not just that, I want to reframe who you are. And I feel like I'm responsible. It's amazing. I was in a low trust deficit with them because they thought I didn't understand them and had badmouthed them in effect. And the apology shifted their thinking, and they were hopeful, but then I had to put it into action.
Prove it. Yeah.
Had to prove it, put it into practice, but they allowed that shift to take place with me because of the apology. And then when I did what I said I was going to do, became their advocate and champion, trust was built almost overnight. So you can build trust faster than you think through intentional behavior. It's not a technique. It's not manipulation. It is just authentic manifestation of saying, I'm going to behave my way into greater trust. And I own and take responsibility for the lack of trust. But here's what I'm going to do to make it right. It's remarkable. And that can happen with customers, partners. I even saw this with Eric Yuan at Zoom. Zoom, he's the CEO, the founder, remarkable company. And they went from 10 million users to 200 million users in 1 month when the pandemic hit. And then they had a little bit of an issue for some of their customers around security. And Eric Yuan, he owned it. Yeah. He took responsibility. And then he came out and apologized and said, we lost some of your trust. Here's what we're going to do to gain it back. Took all these steps, did the actions, did the things. And it was like a blip. And they moved and people said, we can trust them. We can trust him. We can trust Zoom. And they just took off from there. But such a responsible way of making it right and restoring trust, and actually trust being higher now today than it ever was because of how they did it. So it's really a remarkable way of doing this. And so the whole idea of restoring trust is a reset.
So with that, because we're running out of time for the show here, I want to ask you, I've started to ask every guest this, and you've read the book, so you know a little bit more about how I've defined the reset mindset. But I'm just curious, in your own words and from your experience and background, what does the reset mindset mean to you and why is it important?
Yeah. Okay. So let me do it at a meta level and then at a more granular level.
Okay.
So at a meta level, it's the big reset, the paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of really having the big paradigm shift that could be the big reset of, gosh, life isn't about accumulation. It's about contribution. Mm-hmm. That's a big meta level. Leadership is not about me. It's about them, others. That's a big one. And I think that in how we lead, our leadership style, the idea of command and control, which is very much a thing paradigm, transactional. The big reset is it's a people paradigm and it's transformational. Mm-hmm. And it's always about them. It's not doing 2 or 4, it's with them. And we need to make that shift. And so here's a meta way of describing a reset for me. Every significant breakthrough is a break with. It's a break with traditional thinking, traditional models, traditional language. You got to have a break with that to have the breakthrough. And we need to break through in our leadership. We can't just incrementally improve and evolve it. We need to break through from command and control to trust and inspire. And that needs to be a break with how we've been doing it. That's a meta, a big one.
Yeah, I love that.
And then at the micro level, it's just, this is what you talk about, just these moments. There's not just the one big thing, like you described your father passing at 19. That's a big thing, but it's these ongoing moments. It's in the moment of choice, in the moment of interaction, the moment of connection, the moment of just pausing between what happens to us, the stimulus, and our response to it. In between the stimulus and the response, there is a space.
Right. And I call it the reset moment.
It's the reset moment.
I named that space.
You named the space, the reset moment, where I can step back and I can get perspective.
Right.
Right. And I can realign. I can align around my values. I can respond based upon my values, not just upon my instincts and my immediate reaction to it. I'm proactive, not reactive. I choose my response based upon my values because I'm intentional and I'm having that purposeful pause. I'm choosing this. And so I think those moments in leadership are left and right. Those moments in trust, the decision to trust instead of being distrusting. The decision to extend that trust and tell people that you trust them and why you trust them instead of just doing it and not telling them that, and they may not know it.
Makes a difference. That specific why makes a difference.
It makes a profound difference when they say, I'm giving you this responsibility. Let me tell you why. Because you can do this. I trust you and I believe in you. You've demonstrated it to me and I have confidence you'll do it again. That is just different in kind than you got this job. You might feel like I do trust him. That's why I gave him the job. Tell him not only what, but why. And that use the words, I trust you because it's just powerful. There's just so many reset moments in leadership, in the micro things along the way that matter, that make a difference. Another key one, always declare your intent. There's a great, just like assuming positive intent, that's on one side. On the other side, declare your intent. So you let people know what you're doing, but especially why you're doing it. You give the why behind the what. Team, here's what we're trying to do. Here's why we're trying to do it. Here's our agenda. It's not hidden. It's not unknown. It's not self-serving. It's open. It's transparent. Nothing to hide. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's why. Here's our motive. Here's our agenda. That can be a reset moment for others when they say, oh, that's what the boss is. That's what the leader's trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. And so we allow others to reset, have reset moments for them, because we have a reset moment of don't just assume they understand the why, give the why.
Absolutely. Because when they reconnect, then they're going to be able to bring more creativity, right? When they reconnect to that, what it is that you're working for and why it's so important, then it shifts everything. I know I have to know the why for me to, I don't know, I just do. It is important to me. So I can imagine that it is for others as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The what matters and the why matters even more. And the what is like seeing you're doing a jigsaw puzzle that's got 500 pieces. How important is it to see the image of what you're doing when you do that puzzle?
Oh my God. So
it's
important.
Invaluable. It's hard to do without it. That's the what. You got to give them the vision, but give them the why. That's 10 times or 100 times even more important. And because now they understand why this matters and the meaningful, how it connects. And so many of those moments. So I think I love the reset mindset idea. We got to constantly, we have these many moments along the way. And I'm trying to you're giving me language for some of what I'm trying to do with leadership at large is that we need to, at a macro level, reset how we're thinking about leadership. Mm-hmm. Command and control doesn't work anymore. Trust Inspired does, especially today, younger generations. People don't want to be managed. They want to be led. We have to move fast. We have to be agile, have to be collaborative, have to be innovative. Command and control won't achieve those outcomes. We won't attract and keep top talent. We won't bring out the best in people, and it's in them. So we got to have that meta shift and then a whole bunch of reset moments along the way, along the journey.
Stay on course. Yeah. Because it's easy to fall back into command and control.
Very easy, especially when it's all around us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I would love to keep talking and keep asking you questions, but we also have a certain attention span from our audience here. So thank you so much for being here. Where's the best place that people can find you and hear more about you besides getting your books on Amazon?
Yeah. Why don't you go to speedoftrust.com, or trustandinspire.com. That's about both those books, Speed of Trust, Trust and Inspire. And there's a lot of tools, resources, videos, different things that you can do to go deeper with this. And I'd love to connect. I'm on all the social media sites on X and LinkedIn and Instagram and the like, and Stephen M.R. Covey. So I'd love to connect with people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing what I believe is the paradigm shift. I love your work because I think it's such a critical paradigm shift. So thank you for helping us and guiding us in this great reset that we need to make as leaders.
You are welcome, Penny. And thank you for what you're doing to help us do precisely that by giving us language and describing what it is and how we do it. We're co-catalysts and trying to help bring this about.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, my friends. And thanks to everyone.
Yeah. And thank you. That's just what I was going to say is thank you everyone for being here. I hope you took lots of notes. I hope that you're really thinking about your leadership and leadership, not just in the office space, but also your leadership at home and in other areas of your life and how you're showing up. And it's not just at work, the command and control. Look at every aspect of your life and how you can shift that paradigm to trust and inspire and see the difference that it makes in your life. When we shift our perspective, we shift our attitudes, our expectations, and our priorities. So I'm excited for all of you. Definitely go check out Stephen's site, connect with him and connect with me. Let me know what you want to hear on the show and let me know what you're taking away. My name is Penny Zinker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Penny.
Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.